8 series wins out of their last 9 for the Mariners with a 4-2 win over the Royals this afternoon. We'll tell you all about it coming up here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Wednesday, May 15th, 2024. This is Tidy Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners postgame show, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Mariners beat the Royals 4-2 to win their 8th series out of their last 9. We're going to talk about Bryan Woo's second start of the year. Obviously, that 5-out save by Andrés Muñoz. And a solid day for the offense, which came through when the team needed it most on multiple occasions today. But before we do that, a quick shout out to our title sponsor, eBay Motors. From brakes to exhaust kits and beyond, eBay Motors has over 122 million parts to keep your ride or die alive. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to bring home that big win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay guaranteed fit. Only available to U.S. customers. And also, if you want to hear more from me and Colby and support us along the way, check out our Patreon. The link is in the description, and you can check it all out for free with a 7-day trial. Oh boy. All right. That was a stressful and unnecessarily long baseball game, but the Mariners come out on the right side of it, so we're happy. Let's start with Bryan Woo's start. It was dominant through the first 5 innings of this one. He was very efficient. 5 strikeouts over those 5 innings, but then there was a long wait in between innings after the home plate umpire had to leave the game, and we were waiting for his replacement to get his gear on and all this stuff. I think it was about a 10 or so minute delay before the Mariners started hitting. And then, Woo obviously had to wait through that as well before he was able to come back out. And obviously getting ramped back up after long waits in between innings has been an issue for Woo so far here since starting his rehab assignment down in Tacoma. And then obviously last start. This time around wasn't really much of a velocity issue, but he did have some trouble throwing strikes and he had to be taken out of the game. So overall, how did you feel about Woo's start today, Colby?
I mean, the guy threw 79 pitches and I think 60 of them were strikes. 60 strikes on 79 pitches. That's like George Kirby level stuff. And when you look at the pitch breakdown, there wasn't any kind of, secret to how Bryan Woo was just, knifing through this Royals lineup. Of the 79 pitches he threw, 63 of them were either the 4-seamer or the 2-seamer. Just fastball and fastball and fastball. He went right after these Royals hitters, and they didn't really have an answer for him until the 6th inning. So, the velocity was fine today. It was, average 94.6 on the 4-seamer. It's topped out at 96 on both the 4-seam and the 2-seam. Worth noting that it wasn't just the one extended inning that Bryan Woo had to sit through. The second inning was also a bit longer. It was a bit of a wait for the Mariners, as they loaded the bases. They had long at-bats, and they were really working Marsh's pitch count, and Woo had to sit there, and he came out in the next inning and was totally fine. Just velocity was right where it needed to be, threw a ton of strikes, blah, blah, blah. So, you look at Woo today, really good stuff, just very aggressive. He threw 42 4-seamers, got 29 swings, 8 whiffs, 3 called strikes. That's pretty good for the 4-seam fastball. And then in terms of the breaking balls, again, he only threw, it's StatCast. So sweeper, slider, who's to say what pitches?
Who knows? Yeah.
But right. But so let's just call it, he threw 12 sliders, half of them sweepers, half of them true sliders.
Sure.
There was a velocity difference between them. So, that's probably how they differentiate them. But, he threw 6 sweepers and he got 2 whiffs on 2 swings and 3 called strikes on that pitch. So, we've talked about, hey, can Bryan Woo take the next step? Is there an off-speed pitch that he can get? Well, if he was going to throw 83% called strike plus whiff rate with a slider, or any breaking ball for that matter, it's over for you, especially when he's pinpointing the fastball the way he was today. So he only threw 6 of them. Again, not really much of a sample size there. He also threw 6 sliders, and he got 2 whiffs on 4 swings and a called strike on that as well. So 50% called strike plus whiff on the slider. So both breaking balls, regardless of, how you want to classify them, were pretty good in the limited amount of times that Woo threw them today. Even threw a couple change ups, nothing real notable there. But yeah, it was just forcing two seam, and then finish guys off with the slider. And both the breaking balls he threw today were both pretty good. The sweeper wasn't put in play once. No foul balls, no balls put in play. Yeah, it was a very good, effective pitch for him. But today was about the fastball, and he had a dominant one.
Yeah, he was fantastic today. And then the bullpen, Gabe Spire cleaned up Woo's mess there in the bottom of the sixth, or in the top of the sixth rather. Ryan Stanek had a clean inning. Really weird play to end that inning with the ball ricocheting off of Ty France to Josh Rojas, but a nice play by Rojas to get that third out there. And a rare occasion where Ryan Stanek actually got all three outs without much issue. So that was nice to see. But then we get to the eighth, and it's Austin Voth throwing a high leverage. Yeah, throwing a high leverage inning, which not great.
Putting him in the best position.
Not what you want to see in a at the time a 1-run game, 2-run game. It was 3-1 at that time. Yeah. It did not go well, to put it lightly, requiring Andrés Muñoz to take over there and begin his what would end up being a 5-out save, or really essentially a 6-out save. We'll talk more about that in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners postgame show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into an MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Again, that is ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. The Mariners are off tomorrow, but you can catch their first game of their series with the Orioles starting Friday on the Mariners' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. All you have to do to find that is search the word Mariners. So Andrés Muñoz is a dog, absolute dog. His second 4+ out save of this series, his fourth of that kind this season. And it was actually kind of a 6-out save when you really think of it, because Luis Arias had the throwing error on the ground ball by Hunter Renfroe. Tell us a little bit about Muñoz here, Colby.
Yeah, 33 pitches today, 21 sliders. So we're getting back to Muñoz at his best, where it's just like, I throw 100, but my slider's my best pitch, and I'm going to throw that. And there were times last year where he didn't have his slider at all, like had no feel for it whatsoever, and he was just trying to survive on a 4-seamer and a 2-seamer, and he wasn't as effective because he didn't have his best pitch. And the slider is very clearly his best pitch, through 21 of them today. 13 swings, 4 whiffs, 1 called strike on that pitch, but he doesn't mean he didn't get any value off of his 2 fastballs either. 6 4-seamers, 6 2-seamers, topped out at 100, didn't drop below 97. He got 2 whiffs on 4-seamers, on 6 4-seamers, 6 swings. So they were trying to be aggressive on that fastball. When they got it, they swung at it, and they just couldn't really do anything with it. So it was a very good pitch for him. He also got a whiff on a 2-seamer, which is not a pitch that you generally get a lot of swing and miss with. So Muñoz was just really good. He was throwing a lot of strikes. He threw 23 strikes on 33 pitches. This is kind of the evolution of Muñoz, because you remember last year, he really struggled when Seattle would try to bring him back out after sitting him and, try and ramp back up again and get that energy going. He struggled with that. And this year he's more than proven that he can handle that. I don't think you want him to handle it as much as he already has this early in the year. I don't think you can say he's been overworked. He didn't pitch yesterday. He's got an off day tomorrow. So it doesn't feel like they're pushing it too much with him quite yet. But if you continue to ask somebody to get 5-out saves twice a week for an entire season, he's either going to fall flat on his face at times, more so than he normally would, or he's going to get hurt, right? And that's kind of the concern here, is that he gets hurt. You're already without Brash for the rest of the year. Who knows if you're going to get Santos? So Munoz has had to step up in a big way because his high leverage, colleagues, they're not here. They aren't able to help him right now, and the Mariners are just kind of trying to manage with what they know is a problem. The Mariners aren't stupid. They know their bullpen's not deep enough right now.
Yeah.
And they know that they can't count on Santos to be the fix there, because we don't know if he's even going to pitch this year. And even if he does, there's no guarantee that he's going to perform like the high leverage guy you hope. So Munoz right now really saving Seattle and their bullpen as they try and figure out some kind of mix there. The fact that they used Austin Voth in the 8th inning of a 2-run game is proof enough, right, that this thing is not built to sustain this, and Munoz is going to need help at some point. But for now, he's been one of the best relievers in baseball, and the disaster, the nightmare of the 4-walk inning in Milwaukee is long behind him, and he looks like he's poised to possibly make the All-Star game. I mean, if he's getting 4 or 5 out saves on the regular, he's probably going to be down in Texas this July. But he's been exceptional, and it's because the slider is back, and it's a filthy weapon. And, the sliders are all great. Love the slider, but my favorite pitch is the final out of the game, because that's just, I'm tired of seeing you. I'm going to throw you a fastball down the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just blow it by you. Like you're not touching me. I know you're not touching me. So here it is. Boom. Right. And that's how Munoz is feeling himself right now. Like he's feeling good, because he just reared back and was like, you know what? Screw you. You're done. Boom. And game's over.
Yeah. For me, and fouled off a couple pitches there towards the end. And it was just like, okay, let's stop screwing around here. Like, here's the fastball. Hit it. Dare you.
Mono y mono.
Yeah. So Munoz being used this way, a byproduct of, the lack of depth that the Mariners have right now, especially in the high leverage department, and their bullpen, both being used in the 8th, a byproduct of that as well. I'm pretty nervous about this bullpen at the moment. Like, Spire's been pretty good. He's had a couple of shaky outings recently, but overall has had a really good season. Munoz, obviously, like we just talked about, he's been fantastic. Thornton's been kind of up and down. Stanek's been really up and down. You really just don't know what you're going to get on a night-to-night basis from those guys. Saucedo's hurt right now, but there's some belief there from Scott Service and the Mariners that he should be back after his 15 days on the IL are up, which is honestly miraculous given what that injury looked like down in Minnesota. But still, they need high leverage help, especially when they're going to be going on the road here to Baltimore, to New York. And then, Washington's a tough customer too. They're not a great team, but they're going to be a tough out as well. I think the Mariners should be pretty aggressive on the trade market right now for a reliever. Maybe they are right now, but I'm at the point now where, you're getting into a really tough part of your schedule and your bullpen is kind of a mess at the moment. If you have to, pay $1.50 for $1.
Right. If those guys are available. And there's probably some arms in Miami. There's arms in Chicago, teams that we know are sellers. There's a few arms. There's not a ton, right now. So maybe you have to, go get an extra bullpen arm from somebody who's still, in contention mode. Like maybe this isn't something where you can just go and find somebody who's, having a fire sale and getting an arm there. Maybe you have to pay up a little bit more to go get somebody. So we'll see. I did think it was interesting today that Scott didn't push Spire and Stanek for an extra out or two, because Spire only threw 9 pitches. He could have gone back out there. Stanek only threw 8 pitches. He could have gone back out there, and they just didn't do it. And this was Scott knowing that he was an inning short. Like, if he didn't ask Spire or Stanek to go out there and get more than 3 outs, he was going to be an inning short of getting to Munoz, and that would mean he would have to use somebody like Voth. So, little weird that instead of just asking Spire to get 4 outs, instead of just asking Stanek to get 4 outs, that or 5 outs or whatever it is, right, that he went to the bullpen. He didn't put them back out there despite having pitch counts that suggest that he could absolutely do that. So
yeah, especially on Stanek.
Right. Stanek, hasn't fared too well in his second inning of work. So you get that a little bit, but Spire hasn't been great. This is his first really good outing in a minute. But again, he only threw 9 pitches, and the next inning, I believe, what was it? Massey was leading off, and like we know that lefty on lefty is a very difficult thing. So it just felt like they could have gone Spire there, and then maybe then you go Voth to get the 2 outs after Spire gets the 1 out, and then you can go Stanek in the 8th, and that's how you kind of bridge that gap. So you don't have to ask Munoz to go 5 outs, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out that way. And there's probably a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't know about in terms of Stanek and Spire and all of that. So, pretty easy to criticize in moments like that, but it did strike me as odd that they didn't go back out to Spire or Stanek to go get, as many extra outs as they could, because you could tell, unfortunately Woo only went 5 1/3. They were going to be about an inning short of getting to Munoz. And so I thought maybe they tried to make up that inning by asking Stanek and Spire to each get an extra out or 2. But they didn't go that route. And, it worked out at the end, but you see why I wanted them to, right?
Yeah.
You watched Austin Voth in the 8th.
Yeah.
So,
I wonder right now, like, what would it cost me to get Austin Adams from the A's tomorrow?
Yep.
So let's talk about this offense. It was a solid day at the office for the offense. Talk about them in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. Baseball season is in full swing, so don't miss your chance to add your favorite players from the diamond in your PrizePicks entries. Whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your PrizePicks entry today. You can also get in on the basketball playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a whole new level during the postseason. Download PrizePicks today and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Once again, you can catch the Mariners and the Orioles Friday night on the Mariners hometown broadcast with SiriusXM via the SXM app. All you have to do is search Mariners. So I thought it was a pretty good day for the Mariners offense today, all things considered. They weren't able to take much advantage of a bases loaded 1-out situation in the second. They only got 1 run out of that. But they were able to run up Alec Marsh's pitch count, and they put together some really good plate appearances over the course of the day, I thought. But most importantly, and what was most impressive about today, and what was just ultimately so huge about the offense's performance today, was they were able to respond multiple times after the Royals started to mount a little bit of a comeback. The Royals would get a run here, and the Mariners would come back and get that run back. They did that twice with the Rojas RBI after the Dom Canzone double, which was huge, going up against Angel Zerpa after Dylan Moore and Luis Arias couldn't drive that run in. And then Luke Raley, who had yet another really good day today. He goes, 2 for 3, I believe, today. 2 for 4 today, and had that RBI single, got thrown out trying to stretch it out into a double. But that gave the Mariners some more breathing room and made that 9th inning with runners on the corners a little less stressful than it could have been for Andrés Muñoz there. So, Colby, talk a little bit about this offense. Pretty solid day, right?
It was a weird one for Seattle today offensively. Like that second inning, you have to break through. Like that is an opportunity to just, I don't want to say in the game right there, but if you get 2 or 3 there, it's pretty much over at that point, because now Kansas City's going to their bullpen a lot earlier. That we already know they used their high leverage arms last night, and they kept him out there even when the game got away. Like they used MacArthur, and then they pretty much burned him for today. So we knew that if you could get Marsh out of this game, you were going to face that middle of the bullpen, which not all that scary, right? At least in terms of names and stuff. So they had a chance there to kind of completely change the outlook of this game. Couldn't get it. It took an Adam Frazier error for them to get anything. And Luke Raley's hustling and, hustling his good speed, dropped the qualifiers. He's just fast. So yeah, I mean, they needed a little bit of luck there. But then, yeah, just a run here, attack on a run here, attack on a run here. You'd like to see the big inning, right? You'd like to see more than 5 hard hit balls in a game. Like, that's not great. But, overall, they struck out just 8 times in this game, only 2 walks. But, the 8 strikeouts, pretty good for them, especially. A lot of quality at bats, even though they didn't really turn into hits. Julio had another 2-hit game. Rojas went 1 for 4, which is just kind of what he does now. Like, we're seeing Rojas slow down a little bit here. Like, he's pretty much just going 1 for 4 every night, but still going 1 for 4 every night. And today's 1 was pretty big hit. So Rojas has done a really good job, and it sounds like JP will be back with the team on Friday. So that discussion about what you do with the lineup, probably
we'll have it tomorrow.
Yep. And and we'll just go from there. But Julio had a couple hits today. Mitch Haniger had a hit going the opposite way. Nice little single.
He's had a good couple last days.
Yep. He's using the whole field a little bit, drew a walk today, reached base a couple times. So, you hope that Haniger is starting to kind of round the corner again and go back into one of his hot streaks. That would help a ton. Cal Raleigh must have hit 3 or 4 foul balls that were nearly home runs, in his first 2 at bats. So, he goes 1 for 4. It's still a pretty good day, but it could have been a great day. He was very close to having a great day. Luke Raley just continues to just rake and more like Nuke Rakely, right? Huh? But I'll stick to the Mitch.
And that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. Yeah.
I'll stick to the Mitch puns.
Please do.
But overall, we're to the point now where you don't even have to qualify. Since he became an everyday player, blah blah blah. But you could, and I think the fact that he's been playing really well lately, and that kind of starts the day he started to play every day. I don't think that's an accident. But overall, now after today's game, he's hitting 276, 315, 425. It's a 116 WRC plus on the season. So even if you count the first 12 at-bats where he was, looked bad, quote unquote, looked bad, he's still been a very, very good hitter, and he's on a hot streak right now. So, they didn't take him out of the game. He got to face lefty, and he made a play in the gap that Mitch Haniger would not have made. So you can see the difference there in Raley, and obviously with Carver being out today, it left the DH open for Haniger. So that was nice to see. Ty France hits his second home run in the series. Absolute nuke job. 412 into the back of the bullpen.
Yep.
He had a pretty good series. A lot of bad at-bats, but he also, we saw him, at least to me, the at-bats looked a little bit better. Still chasing a little too much, still some bad chases, whatever. He had one with the bases loaded or whatever, or was it after Canzone's where he swung at ball 4 twice.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah. He chased a fastball outside the top of the zone,
and he popped up and all that stuff. He's not there yet, but again, couple home runs in this series. I saw him foul off, maybe half a dozen really tough 2-strike pitches in this series that he would have been swinging through a week ago. So you kind of hope that he's made some adjustments there, but until we see it consistently, right? It's the Julio thing, it's the Haniger thing. Until we see it for a week in a row, it's just an isolated incident, but still good to see. A good Ty France changes this offense so much that I really hope that we get back to what he was, 2 years ago. That would help a ton. And then, we get to see Dom Canzone come back, and first at bat, little rough there, but he hits the big double in his last at bat, goes 1 for 3 with the double, scores a run. And Demo and Luis, they had rough games at the plate. They were not great. Luis had a rough game overall.
Yeah, he had a rough series. He had
the pop up that he dropped, trying to backpedal and all that. Not a great series for Luis.
Not a great series for my brand.
No, but thankfully, starting tomorrow, Luis can kind of the next game, Friday, Luis can go back to the role that actually makes some sense for him, hitting mostly against lefties, playing 2-3 times a week. And that's because of the return of JP. So, this is Dylan Moore's kind of swan song as a starting shortstop, unless something bad happens to JP tonight. But, obviously, again, you got to give him a ton of credit for what he did. And he's going to be in the lineup in Baltimore, too, because I think there's 2 lefties scheduled to pitch for the Orioles this weekend. So Dylan Moore is going to be in the outfield, probably for Rayleigh or Canzone for at least a couple of these games. But, Demo didn't end his stint as Mariners starting shortstop on the highest note at the plate tonight. But, old Dilly Rolls did his job and then some over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, hard to argue with the results you got there. So overall, 9 hits, 2 walks, only 8 strikeouts, 4 runs. It's not bad. It's not bad. It's not what you want because you had a chance to really explode in the second and all that. But it is what it is. Sometimes you just got to grind through these games and you just scratch out a run here, a run there.
Yep.
And that's how you have to win games sometimes. And the Mariners did that. And the offense is still wildly inconsistent, but you look at it, 4, 5, 6 runs a night. They've shown that they can do that over the last, week or so. We've seen about half the games they score 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 runs. The other half they score 1. So let's find some consistency in there. But yeah, this is a good game because they found a way to scratch out enough runs to win the series. And like you said, every time Kansas City kind of punched back, you punched them right back, and it just kind of keeps the deficit where it is. And it's demoralizing for a team when they think they're making this comeback, and then nope, there we go.
Yeah,
balance has been restored. So Kansas City's playing really good baseball, and the Mariners took 2 out of 3 from them. That should not be discounted, regardless of how they did it.
100%. Jorge Polanco and Mitch Garver missing back-to-back days, but it doesn't seem like the Mariners are too concerned about either one of those guys. And I think there's a pretty decent chance we'll see both of those guys back in the lineup on Friday against Baltimore. And then, JP Crawford expected to be activated on Friday as well, meaning Leo Rivas will most likely head down to Tacoma. He obviously scored on the Luke Rayleigh single near double today in the bottom of the 8th. So salute to Rivas, for making his MLB debut, having that triple in his debut, and helping out on the base pass here and there a little bit. But the Mariners on Friday expected to basically have their opening day position player group back together for the first time since Canzone went on the IL in that, what was that, the Cubs series? Or was that the Red series?
Yep.
It was
the Cubs series.
Yeah.
It's kind of Luis Castillo's first good start of the year.
Yeah. Before we get out of here, a reminder that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners postgame show. For Colby Patnode, I'm Ty Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Ty Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day. We'll see you next time. Peace.